Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Spread Zone, the show where we're trying to stay sharp. We're trying to beat bad numbers, and most importantly, we're trying to help you win some money. Put some money in your pocket during what could be one of the best weeks on the calendar. It's conference tournament week, or as you guys would say, tournament.
That's a controversial. I love to say tournament during the tournament because you have a lot of broadcasters who are East Coast and they say tournament. But when you're from the East Coast, you hear Midwesterners say tournament.
Yeah. I grew up on the East Coast, so I'm a tournament guy.
No. I'm a tournament guy too. I don't know if I'd say tournament.
Tournament doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound right.
Do you say ant or do you say aunt?
Ant.
Okay, interesting.
So my folks, East Coast as well.
All right, so that's where it comes from.
And Tim, you're a tournament
I'm a tournament.
Tournament guy.
I'm a meat and potatoes Midwesterner.
Of course, quick housekeeping. This episode is sponsored by FanDuel, and all lines we reference are through FanDuel. So we got the ACC, we got the Big East, we got the Big 10, we got the Big 12, we got the SEC, and we're going to close out today's Spread Zone with the Players' Championship at Sawgrass.
Mm-hmm.
So we're recording this on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So some of these games have begun already. Some of them will begin as we're doing this podcast. So,
and yet I'll still manage to lose them.
Oh, by the way, that's Tim McKernan. That is Anthony Stalter. All right, gentlemen, let's cook.
Yes.
Let's start with the ACC. ACC tournament, Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina, neutral court, one and done. And this year, the big picture is simple. I mean, the tournament started yesterday. Duke is the clear favorite to win this.
Minus 260, Riz.
There's also an important injury note hanging over the bracket. That's North Carolina's without Caleb Wilson for the rest of the season. A broken thumb. That matters in both futures and game-to-game matchups. So do you guys have anything on the ACC as far as individual games yet for round one?
I'm not playing anything on the round one games, but I will tell you this. I'd keep an eye on the motivation factor when you have a team like Duke. I just don't think you can ignore that. When you have a team that is a clear number one seed, no matter what they do this weekend, and they're also dealing with some injury issues themselves. Now, neither do the Boozer family, which is the most important. But nonetheless, you get into situations like this at this time of year, and it's almost implied that you don't necessarily, if you're Duke, want to be playing on Sunday. And you want that extra day of rest, as weird as that sounds. So when you take a look at some of these tournaments over the last handful of years and you have what would seemingly be...
Well, you're not saying they're going to tank it.
No, absolutely not. But it's just not the priority. And then you'll run into teams, the team that I'm keeping an eye on, Miami, at plus 2,000, that probably are going to be in at this point. They were a bubble team, now they're trending, but that have motivation. And that's where these conference tournaments can really throw you off. So in other words, if Duke were playing in the NCAA tournament against the field in the ACC, I'll lay the minus 260 all day long. But considering that this is kind of an exhibition for a team that itself is also dealing with injury, give me the field over Duke.
Right, so you got Virginia, and these are all odds from yesterday before the tournament started. Virginia was at plus 700, Louisville plus 1,300, Miami plus 2,000. What are you looking at, Anthony?
So similar to what Tim said, motivation's an issue with Duke. And at minus 260, there really isn't any value in just backing Duke. If you want to look at I made this recommendation last week in terms of live lines. Maybe you back Duke if they fall behind. Live lines tend to overreact earlier on in games. You could get a good price. So if you like Duke, start to look at the live line stuff, especially if they fall behind. Otherwise, right away, I'm eliminating one of the biggest things I think in any tournament, especially with the neutral site tournaments. If you don't play defense, you're not going to win. Just not. You may win a game, but you're not going to go very far. How about last week when we were talking about the Missouri Valley Conference tournament?
You shipped that one, didn't you?
Yes.
Northern Iowa.
I said Northern Iowa.
Ship.
Because of their defense. Belmont doesn't play defense. Belmont got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah.
So if you don't play defense, you're immediately eliminated. So like SMU, for example, in the ACC, I don't have them getting past. They won last night.
They beat Syracuse, and then Syracuse fired their coach.
Right. So Syracuse has some issues. I don't have them getting past Louisville. So long story short, there's no value in Duke, even though they're the title favorite. Team I'm looking at is Clemson. I think Clemson.
It's a nice play.
Thank you, sir.
That's a nice play.
Clemson at plus 3,500 right now at our partners at FanDuel. Their offense can be inconsistent, but they play lockdown defense.
So who are they playing? Who is Clemson playing?
Clemson today they've got Wake Forest.
Who won last night?
Correct.
For the record, I've got Clemson as of this morning at plus 4,000.
Okay, a little more value.
Yeah, Virginia Tech was the favorite yesterday, and Wake Forest beat them pretty handily, I believe.
I think it was overtime. That game eventually got into overtime, and Wake won 95-89.
95-89.
In OT. Okay. Yep.
Because Virginia Tech was giving 2.5 to start that game. So, all right, anything else on the ACC, fellas?
Nope.
No, sir.
Shall we move on to the Big East? Now, this tournament has not started yet. That starts at 3 o'clock today. Big East, Madison Square Garden, the best atmosphere in conference tournament week. I guess it's a top-heavy league this year. Most of the weight sits with UConn and St. John's, and the market reflects it. UConn is the favorite at minus 115, St. John's plus 190, Villanova at plus 700. Is anybody going to call a winner?
I would go with St. John's. I think UConn, they're not in the same spot as Duke, but they are also a prohibitive favorite to be at worst a 2, most likely in the 1 or 2 category. St. John's and UConn have gone back and forth this year, splitting their first 2. Playing at the Garden, I'll go with St. John's, and I'll get 2-1 on my money as opposed to the minus money for UConn. But I don't know. It would shock me if anybody other than those 2 won. It's an odd year for the Big East. Usually that's a great tournament. So much depth in that conference. And this year, just don't have it. It's UConn or St. John's.
Kind of rooting around, some of these sports talking heads, sprinkle in a little Creighton at plus 5,000. If they go nuclear from 3 for 2 nights, weird stuff happens at MSG. It's not a core bet, but it's like it's a fun coupon with an upside.
Coupon, yeah, plus 5,000.
Plus 5,000 for Creighton again. If they go nuts from 3 for 2 nights, it could make it interesting. Anthony,
I love UConn. I think even at minus 110, there's still plenty of value there. Obviously, we want to get plus odds as much as we can.
Yes.
I like UConn. I do not like St. John's. I don't like how they finished this year, but I do recognize, like you noted, Tim, I think that was a salient point you made about their matchups with UConn. They match up very well with UConn. The team that if you're going to throw out the favorite and say, hey, give me a value play, I really like Villanova. Villanova played outstanding defense. Their offense, they had a game against, I think it was DePaul, where, they couldn't hit anything in the first half, then got rolling in the second. But their defense is always going to keep them in every game. And at plus 700, I like the value on Nova. So I do like UConn to win it. If you just want to strike out the favorite, give me Villanova at plus 700.
All right, we'll move on to the Big Ten. Big Ten tournament. This is where you get physical games, shorter turnarounds, and a lot of matchups where the better team still has to survive a grinder. Futures board says Michigan is the class, and they're priced like it. Michigan minus 105. It's a chalk bite, but it's a chalk bite a lot of people are going to live with. So what are you guys looking at in the Big Ten?
I'll start here. This is unlike the Big East. I feel like you can go to 6, maybe 7 teams that could win this thing. Michigan is the favorite to win the national championships. You sit there and go, well, then how couldn't they win the Big Ten conference tournament? And in the Big Ten tournament, and I feel like this happens more often than other conference tournaments, they'll go for it. And I don't really know what the reasoning is for that, but that seems to be the case. Now, Illinois had a
pride thing.
I don't know. You'll get the favorites meeting on that championship Sunday, and then the committee basically ignores what winds up happening in that championship. But Illinois fell off toward the end of the season. They bounced back by beating Oregon and Maryland to wrap up the regular season. Their second Riz at plus 390. Tom Izzo's group at plus 550 is the one that I would circle. That's the one that I would circle. You've had some major ups and downs for the next 2, Purdue and Nebraska. plus 850, plus 1100. Wisconsin has some of the most impressive wins on their resume at plus 2500. And then the very angry McKernan is at plus 5,000. So you have a number of teams, plus some teams that are sitting out there on the bubble fighting for their lives. Iowa's plus 8,000, Ohio State plus 10,000, Indiana plus 17,500 are your listings there.
Nebraska, and what are they? Yesterday they were plus 1,000.
Nebraska is currently plus 1,100. Nebraska falls into the category you were talking about with Creighton, also a Nebraska school. They live and die by the three.
Two ugly wins, and suddenly, you're live to hedge with Nebraska. What are you thinking, Anthony?
I'm with Tim on Michigan State. The defense, the coaching, they're kind of built to win these types of tournaments. I didn't like... I like the way they finished. Now, they did lose by 10 to Michigan, but if you watch that game, it was a lot closer.
It really was. They had a nice lead going into the half, and then Michigan came back and took the lead right beforehand, but they were right there in Ann Arbor.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if they hit a shot late, Michigan pulled away. It doesn't matter. Michigan pulled away, but that game was very tight. Even including that game, they had finished 5-1 to finish out the season with a couple of nice wins there, including at Purdue, 2-point win as a 6.5-point dog. So I like them. I don't trust Wisconsin away from Kohl Center. That's just if Wisconsin's at home, they're dangerous. If not, I'm not a big fan. Other than that, I do like a first round matchup if you guys just want a spread play.
Sure, why not?
So today, again, we're recording this on a Wednesday. I don't know if you see it or not, but I do like Northwestern plus 5.5 against Indiana. That's a 5:30 local time, 6:30 Eastern. So again, you might not see that in time, but I do like Northwestern plus 5.5. I was looking at the number. Northwestern is 9-0-1 against the spread against Indiana last 10.
Wow.
9-0-1 with several outright wins as an underdog, including in February where they're an 8.5-point dog in Bloomington, beat them outright by 4.
All right, listen, we'll leave that there. That's the Big Ten. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk Big 12 and SEC. It's the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel. All right, we're back on the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel. All right, the Big 12. This is the most competitive power conference tournament of the bunch. I think it's
boy, is it ever, brother.
And the bracket could absolutely punish you. Arizona and Houston are at the top with legit challengers, behind them. So what are you guys seeing in the Big 12? We'll start with you, Tim.
Well, Riz, as you're making reference, the most competitive, if you're looking at the top 10 favorites to win the national championship, the Big 12 has the most presence. Arizona's plus 550 to win it all. Houston's plus 1,200. Iowa State's plus 2,500. And Kansas is plus 5,000. And Texas Tech isn't too far off from the top 10 themselves at plus 10,000. Point being, this isn't just a conference with teams hoping to get into the tournament. You've got multiple teams that could really win the whole thing. So then you get them all together and playing in the Big 12 tournament. Arizona is an absolute force. They're plus 110, and you go, you're getting plus money on a force like that. But the thing is, you're going to have to navigate so many teams. If you wanted a value play that I think is really dangerous, BYU.
Dude, yeah, I got that too.
At plus 5,000
Small
strikes
stake,
me.
big payout.
Yeah.
Hedge potential if they can make a run.
I'm telling you, plus 5,000 on BYU is just, they're so good. And to get it 50 to 1 on my money,
plus
just
5,000. It's a sleeper.
I can't not ignore that.
Anthony?
So BYU falls into the category of a team that I just don't trust because defensively they're not there. Now they can score, so if they get hot, as you guys are kind of indicating, they can roll. But BYU, Kansas, and Texas Tech are three teams I just don't trust for various reasons. I'm looking at the top of the board. Houston's been wonky this year.
Odd.
Very odd.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they've got that. The numbers look good, but they just don't feel like that Kelvin Sampson type lockdown team. Arizona at the top, you're not getting much value. Give me Iowa State plus 700.
Iowa State
defensively, right in line with Houston, little behind Arizona, but one of the better defensive teams in that conference. And their offense, while certainly not anywhere close to what BYU can bring to the table. I think they're solid as well. So give me Iowa State plus 700 to win the tournament.
All right, let's move to the SEC now. This, I believe, starts at 11:30 Central Time today. So
Kentucky and LSU, your first game.
Yeah. SEC tournament, this one has a clear favorite, and then a cluster of teams that can absolutely win 2 games and get hot. Florida is the favorite, and there's bubble tension with a couple teams needing a real good couple days. So Florida's the favorite, followed by Arkansas and Alabama, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, Texas A&M, Texas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Tim, who do you think is going to win the tournament?
I think that Florida is playing some of the best basketball in the country, and I like Florida in the NCAA tournament as far as making a really deep run. They have been on a heater since mid-January. But the team that I'm taking to win the SEC tournament is Arkansas at plus 550. Arkansas has major upside. Darius Acuff, the player of the year, so good. He is going to be back. He did not play in their final regular season game. He's going to be back. That's a team that I look at. If you're looking at as I guess I would call them a sneaker just because they're not going to be a top 1 or 2 seed in the NCAA tournament that can really do some damage. Arkansas getting right with Acuff at plus 550 would be my play for the SEC tournament. But you're right, Riz. There are a number of teams who really need to at least win 1 game, if not win a few, to find themselves in the NCAA tournament field. So there is motivation in this tournament in a major way.
Sprinkles. Texas A&M, what are they at? Are they at yesterday?
A&M to win plus 4,000.
I had plus 5,000. So it moved since yesterday. Texas A&M is a name that pops as a sleeper in a lot of the preview grids I'm seeing. Small bet, big upside. What do you see, Anthony?
So this tournament's going to be a lot of fun. Arkansas and Alabama can both shoot the lights out. I agree with Tim in that once the tournament starts, the NCAA tournament starts, I'm going to be all over Florida. I love Florida. I love the way they play.
It's not a sexy pick.
Yeah, but at minus 155, again, we're trying to have a little fun here in the tournament. I'm going to pass. Does anybody else feel like Vanderbilt is just like flying under the radar of this tournament?
They've been kind of fumbling around down the stretch.
What are they at? They were at plus 1,200 yesterday. So
they're at plus 1,200 right now. I feel like because of the way they finished, people are overlooking them. But if you think about the way they play, they're one of the more balanced teams in the conference. It's boring, but at plus 1,200, I think there's a tremendous amount of value.
There's value there.
If you want to have fun, either Arkansas or Alabama is your play because they're going to score. Florida's the obvious, but I think Vanderbilt is flying under the radar. Give me Vanderbilt plus 1,200.
All right, that's the SEC. All right, shout out again to FanDuel Sportsbook, sponsor, of course, of today's episode of the FanDuel. We'll take our final break. We'll come back, and we will talk about the Players' Championship over at Sawgrass. That's Tim's time to shine.
Yes, it is.
It's the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel. It's the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel. All right, let's go to golf. The Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass Stadium course. Tim, this is your forte.
Yep, sure is, Riz. Thank you for acknowledging my greatness on this. I was able to give you Tommy Fleetwood, who flailed around last week at Bay Hill. So who will I curse this week?
Did he finish, though?
He did. He did.
All right, so my pick didn't even finish.
He decided to shut her down.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I got this back problem. I'm -4, but you know what? I got these back spasms. Rory says, I'm out.
Scotty Scheffler is the favorite. Rory McIlroy, then Morikawa. Ludwig Ahlberg.
Yeah, Ludwig.
Russell Henley. And then Xander Schauffele. What are you looking at, Tim?
This course is geared for who is wizardry with their irons, and that is what it's about. Strokes gained approached is always the most important data point at the Players. And right now, Colin Morikawa is the second best in 2026 stroke gained approach. He is my pick this week. Liked him last week at Bay Hill, and he was lurking on Sunday before Akshay Bhatia chased down Daniel Berger to win it in a playoff. But Morikawa is playing really good golf. Saw an interview with him earlier this week, and he said he really finally feels like he figured it out in September and October, getting ready and actually making sure that he was treating his body properly, both with eating and working out, and the agility that he has is translated to the course. Second strokes gain, one of the best ball strikers of the last decade, Colin Morikawa. If you want a player that would give you some value for a sweat, we like to give the people a long shot play. Again, I keep talking about this guy. I talked about him last week.
Let me guess. Is it Min Woo Lee?
Oh, I like Min Woo.
He loves him.
I love Min Woo.
I know you do.
Min Woo.
That name always jumps out.
Yeah, well, I think it's because I picked him to win the Masters.
and
I don't even know if he made it to the second tee box. Jacob Bridgman is our play. Riz, he won at Riviera, the Genesis, and after a terrible first round last week, he mounted yet another charge. He's easily the player that nobody knows who's playing the best golf in 2026, and he is plus 6,000. In addition, going back to if you're building out rosters for daily fantasy or if you're looking to bet, strokes gained approach is the data point to focus on when they're playing in Ponte Vedra, and Bridgman is ranked 11th in strokes gained approach in 2026. He is just dialed in. Jacob Bridgman plus 6,000, and then Colin Morikawa if I was going with more of the chalky play. Something's up with Scotty Scheffler with his irons right now, and I don't know what's going on. He's usually, his shot dispersion so tight with his irons. That's why he's so good. And right now he is 50th strokes gained approach, which is just unheard of for a guy who's usually
course. It's a lot of water.
A lot of water, and they're growing out the rough this week, which is not usually what they do. So driving accuracy will also be at a premium.
And also, this is a finishing holes.
The signature island green on number 17.
Okay, so if I'm putting together a slip, for me, since I'm not the expert that you are, I do like the placement bets. You know, top 10, top 20.
Sure.
Morikawa top 10 at plus 190.
Love it. Legitimately love getting 2 to 1 on him.
Top 20 at plus 145.
Why Delta guy on Ludwig?
Matsuyama top 20 at plus 170. If I put those all together.
I love the Morikawa play. That's where I am. The other two, I mean, this is a borderline major. It's the fifth major.
I'm going Alberg top 20, Matsuyama top 20.
Yeah.
Are these smart plays? Are you staying away?
I would stay away from those. I like the Morikawa getting 2 to 1 on my money. That's would be the one that I like. And then if you're talking about a top 10, you could probably even go top 20 and have value on Jacob Bridgman. Again, I realize, I would imagine, 90% of people have no idea who he is, but top 20 is 2.5 to 1 on your money. He's just a rock solid player who is dialed in, and form is so important. So, for example, right now, Rory McIlroy is the defending champion there, and then that led to him winning the Masters last year. But as, Anthony mentioned, he left Bay Hill last week with a back injury. Who knows what his situation is going to be? If you're playing daily fantasy, you can put him on a roster because most people won't put him on a roster because of his health. Same thing with Justin Thomas. He played terribly last week at Bay Hill. Most people won't be playing him, so you'd have an advantage on the field there. But if you're placing a bet, those are two that I would avoid that are normally premium plays because right now their form doesn't stand to reason because of health.
All right, give me your one outright you'd ride at Sawgrass and one placement bet you actually trust.
I love Colin Morikawa to win this tournament. I think it is his time with the way that he is playing right now. He is so good, and strokes gained approach is the critical data point, and he is second the PGA Tour. And give me Jacob Bridgman top 20, that pays plus 250. Jacob Bridgman at plus 250, top 20. I couldn't like it anymore. I like that more than Morikawa. Certainly Anthony, have a lot of latitude.
You want to throw one out there?
Yeah, you don't believe it or not, I also have Colin Morikawa.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, I like Colin.
Train.
Yep, I like Morikawa. And the name that you mentioned, Riz, Hideki Matsuyama, top 10. You liked him top 20. I'll throw it top 10. And then my long shot, if you want to kind of sprinkle in, if you got any head-to-head matchups that FanDuel offers, I like Tom Hoge. I think Tom Hoge could play well this weekend. Now, I don't know if I'm going outright at plus 175 to 1, but I do like him in a couple of, whether it's top 10 or to make or miss the cut or some head-to-heads. So those are my three. I like Morikawa, I like Matsuyama, I like Hoge.
And going back to Morikawa, his first round matchup is Scotty Scheffler on FanDuel, and he's plus 125, whereas Scheffler's minus 163. So that's just the 18 holes for the first round. And Scheffler, if he would have just decent first rounds, he would probably have 2 more championships this year in addition to the Amex. For whatever reason, he struggled there. Meanwhile, Morikawa has been so good to get plus money there against a guy who struggled in the first round and is really trying to find it. Used a new driver last week. He's got to dial that in. He had problems last week at Bay Hill, and like I said, they're growing out the rough this week at Ponte Vedra. So I like Morikawa getting plus 125 against Scheffler, in addition to him winning the tournament and Bridgman top 20.
All right, fellas, we got an exciting couple of days of sports.
It's a great time of sports.
Damn right we do.
So we got the conference tournaments. We got the Players Championship. Selection Sunday is coming up. So, and the tournament, the big dance, the big tournament begins next week.
Here we go.
Well, subscribe, rate, review. It's the Spread Zone, presented by FanDuel. Anything else, fellas?
That's it. Enjoy.
Right. Enjoy. We'll see you next week.
We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.